one day somebody does something unspeakable to someone else, to someone you hardly knew, and you do something about it, because you can.
All right, guys, it's happened again. In Oklahoma, cops with badges that say we can do what we want. We have badges. We're out here to, you show me your papers or I will sic the officer on you. Welcome to the United States of East Berlin, Oklahoma. The Blaine County Sheriff said he's received hundreds of calls from concerned citizens after a Watonga police officer was shown on body camera video slamming a man to the ground. At around 6 a.m. on July 4th of this year, John Sexton was walking with his 6-year-old son who has autism. He was stopped by 2 officers for suspicious activity before being thrown to the ground and briefly detained.
Hey, how you doing today?
You're watching body cam video from a Watonga police officer who stopped this man, John Sexton, and his son in the early morning of July 4th.
All right, what's your name, sir?
Johnny.
It all started after officers say they saw the pair leaving an alleyway.
I found it a little bit suspicious, you know, so just walking around.
Walking around is a little bit suspicious?
I mean, technically not really, but I mean, it is pretty early in the morning.
It was just before 6 a.m., around when Sexton says he and his son, who lives with autism, typically walk outside.
You've been walking around down here at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, we do that.
No, you're not. Give me your ID.
When Sexton didn't give the officer his ID,
I'm going to take you to jail for failure to identify.
but Sexton says it wasn't on him.
Give me your ID.
I don't have my ID on me because it's at the house.
The situation escalated all the way to this.
I want this on video. What are you doing to my bro? This is up.
All while Sexton's son watched and wailed. The officer then brings Sexton to his patrol car.
Shut up and listen just a minute. We had reasonable enough suspicion to identify you. And
What was I being detained for?
criminal, like we don't know what's going on, but we can call it criminal activity.
But he's eventually let go. Sexton says his son has not been the same since.
He's been a cop for Halloween for the last 2 years. That's what he's been wanting to be when he grows up. That's what he says, and now he's scared of him.
Now, Sexton claimed the incident violated his rights and traumatized his son. Well, it did. His Fourth Amendment civil rights were violated. He said of his son, he's been a cop for Halloween for the last 2 years. That's what he's been wanting to be when he grows up. That's what he says. But now he's scared of them, he said of his son. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation is still looking into the use of force to see if it was justified. There's video. But in the meantime, viewers have sent Coco 5 100 messages, emails, and phone calls complaining about other cases that involve one of the officers. Blaine County Sheriff Travis Daugherty said hundreds of people have also reached out to him. He said, we've had over 200 phone calls this weekend, talking about when it happened. While it isn't his department, the sheriff called for both officers involved to be taken off the streets while the Oklahoma State Board of Investigation works the case. He says, I can understand why they feel the way that they do because of hearing that child scream is one of the hardest things. Not only that, seeing his dad taken to the ground for what? Walking early in the morning. The officer has a history of other complaints, including from his former colleagues, according to the sheriff. He says the deputies that were underneath him, they had lost faith in him as their leader. Yeah, and so I demoted him back later. The officer ended up moving to a position that wasn't with the public before leaving the sheriff's office. Now he's with the Watonga Police Department. He eventually ended up with a position there, like I said, at the Watonga PD. The sheriff, Aaron Easton, a criminal defense attorney, says it was extremely disturbing. Easton offered insight into the case as he was also a police chief in California. And he says many times law enforcement officers bounce between departments because complaints are harder to track down, even though there's a database for them. He says the issue is when it comes to internal investigations, personnel files for law enforcement officers and people in many other fields, those are tough to crack sometimes. because they're going from department to department. So Easton says, so this gentleman is probably on some of those databases internally with one or more city, state, or county jurisdictions. Now, the city of Watonga sent Coco 5 a statement saying they take the allegations seriously. They said, as part of our commitment to integrity, we take any allegations seriously and are committed to transparency and accountability in our operations. Until the investigation is complete, and while following state law related to personnel matters, we will refrain from providing additional comments to preserve the integrity of the process, they say. Watonga City Manager Carrie Beth Little said, we appreciate your understanding in this matter, and we encourage anyone with further questions or concerns to contact us after the investigation concludes. Now, city officials told Coco 5, that's the news outlet, they would not be providing further comment. You know, the thing here is, I mean, there's video. Like, the one cop, he goes, well, it's not really suspicious. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. While the other cop is going, give me your ID or you're going to jail. I mean, are these, what is this, Laurel and Hardy patrolling the streets? You know, Abbott and Costello patrolling the streets. Oh, I'm sorry, the younger generation don't know who I'm talking about. But, I mean, Lewis and Martin, what the hell's going on in Watonga, Oklahoma? But if you're walking before 6 a.m., obviously it's suspicious. Because, my God, who walks around at 5:30 in the morning in Oklahoma during the summertime when it, you know, peaks 115 degrees at noontime? And you know, the frustrating part is there's not a lot we can do other than petition the governor to get the Department of Justice involved, get the Attorney General of Oklahoma down there. Yeah, right. Remove those officers. They say, we're committed to transparency and accountability. Well, if you are, then you'll fire his ass and he'll be charged with assault and civil rights violations because he violated Mr. Sexton's Fourth Amendment violation. Civil rights. But again, another cop story. You know, we tell them and nothing happens. This guy will be a cop probably, he'll probably leave Oklahoma and be a cop in Texas or Arkansas somewhere. If he goes to Texas, you know, maybe he should go down to, I was going to say, what's the county in Houston? To Bear Valley. There you go. He'll go to Bear County. Bear County will take this guy.